Welcome back to Wines du Jour. We're here at Blue Water Restaurant. And I have to tell you, folks, if you can make it over here for lunch or dinner, don't miss out. It's right on Eastern Avenue, just south of the 215 highway. Easy to find, and the food is very, very good. Well, one of the reasons is the chef in charge in the kitchen is a previous Food Network Iron Chef. Chef Marco was a winner and is an Iron Chef. So here he is in the Blue Water restaurant in Henderson. The first wine I want to talk to you about tonight is a wine that comes to us. Dry Creek is one area that you need to know about if you're into Zinfandel, Dry Creek, California. That's an area that has an awful lot of Zinfandel vines. But more importantly, this winery, which is the wines that you guys are tasting currently, this winery is number one. It's a 2010. It is called Puccioni. Oh my God, that must be Italian. You know, I told you the Italians came here. Well, here you go. Puccioni. That's the name of it. It's actually owned by Glenn and Lowry Proctor. Now, the neat part is these grapes were actually planted, the vines, I should say, were planted back in the late 1800s, some of them. So they're now over 100 and some years old. Now, what happens with vines is that when you first plant a brand new young vine, it takes 3 to 5 years to get a harvest out of that vine to where you can make some wine and enough grapes and so on. 3 to 5 years on that front end, but some of them last 150 years. Now, when they're about 5 to 20 years old, in that age group, they produce the most amount of grapes. Now, you would think the more grapes you get, the more wine you get. The more wine you get, the more money you make. Well, that sounds wonderful, but that ain't the way it works. They'll go out in the vineyard and actually cut these little grapes off onto the ground and drag them off and throw them away. So what happens is, and I'm just going to give numbers here, but let's say you have 1,000 grapes and you get rid of 500 of them. The 500 that stay become a lot more intense and a lot more flavorful because the root system now is nurturing half as much as it was before, but better quality. So what you end up with when you do harvest is better tasting grapes. Pretty simple when you think about it, but everybody thinks, you know, greed. To get it all we can get. They don't think that way at all. So this is what they do. They cull, if you will. What they're going to do is take some of those grapes away. And they're also going to take, and this is something that you probably haven't thought about, is the leaves that grow on these vines, they're going to cull some of those too. Or they're going to take the ones that are going to cover the, let's say that this is a cluster of grapes, and there's a couple leaves on the top. They're going to leave those and cut the other leaves off somewhere else so that there's some shade from the sun on that cluster so it doesn't get direct sun all the time. Some grapes like the direct sun, most grapes do not. So that's called canopy management. So they do everything they can with watering, with canopy management, with culling, if you will, the grapes, everything they can to lead the grapes that stay on the vine to turn out to be the very best, highest quality grape that they can get, so they end up with a damn good bottle of wine. That's what it's all about. These grapes, I should say, these vines that are in this bottle tonight were planted in 1889. Now you figure the math. 1889. That's a long time ago. And they've been producing grapes every year, but you know, things have kind of slowed down a little bit. But the quality, if you can taste this now, you guys here have a chance to do that. When it comes to Zinfandel, it goes with a lot of things, and mostly red meats. Now, what's red meat? Well, we know that red meat has to be beef. I mean, that's an obvious. But one of the best red meats that goes with Zinfandel, like this here, is lamb. It is outstanding. You could get a leg of lamb, put it on a spit with a little bit of garlic and salt and pepper and extra virgin olive oil and let her go until it gets to the way you like it, medium rare, whatever it might be, medium. Also, poultry. Now, I said chicken, barbecued chicken, but if you roast a chicken and you want something besides a white wine to go with it, like Chardonnay, which most people have with the roast chicken, try a little Zinfandel. You'll be amazed at how good and tasty that goes together. Game. We're talking about pheasant, quail, duck, dove, all of those game things, and Zinfandel go very well together. It also goes good with fish. We're talking about Zinfandel. Now, if you take, as an example, maybe a sea bass. You take a sea bass fillet, put an extra virgin olive oil on both sides, salt and pepper, put it on the grill, medium high on your grill, put it for, there's a rule when you cook fish. It says that for every 1 inch of thickness, you cook the fish 10 minutes. Now, that doesn't make any difference if you're going to fry it, or broil it, or bake it, or boil it, or roast it. It doesn't make any difference. The rule is the same. For every 1 inch of thickness, you cook it for a total of 10 minutes. Now, the average person, and I'm not trying to say you're not smart, but the average person says, let's see, I'm going to cook this 10 minutes because it's exactly 1 inch, 5 minutes on one side, 5 minutes on the other side. Wrong. That's not what we recommend. 10 minutes is good, but not 5 and 5. Maybe 8 and 2. Aha! And the reason we do the 8 is if you go to a restaurant like we're sitting here at Blue Water and you order fish fillet, it comes out to it's got a nice crust over the top of it. You wonder how that happens? They don't turn it at 5 minutes. They turn it at 8 minutes. They cook the other side for a minute or two, put it on the plate, and it's perfect. Now you're smarter than your neighbor, and you're going to have them over to your house for fish. That's really an important thing to remember. And I have to tell you, it works beautiful. And if you have skin on the fish, like salmon and so on and so forth, you might want to cook the skin side first and cook it for 7 or 8 minutes. It's going to get nice and crisp. When you turn it over, if you want to, you can remove it very easily before you put it on the plate. Or there's people that go crazy over that crispy skin. It's up to you. It's like skin on chicken. Some people, I always take the skin off my chicken because it's healthier. Okay, but there are people who say, give me that skin, I'll eat yours and mine, because it has this taste and flavor that they grew up with, they're accustomed to, and they feel comfortable with it. So, Asian fare, barbecue, seafood, Cajun food, and when it comes to pairing with Zinfandel, it doesn't make any difference if the beef or the quail or the dove or the lamb is cooked. It could be grilled, it could be stewed, or it could be braised. It still will go with Zinfandel. That's the important thing. And we know braising is something that's pretty simple, but most people have a problem with, is you take a large piece of meat, let's say a roast, put it in a pot. You can put garlic and onions and carrots and whatever you want in it, and fill it up with water or chicken stock or beef stock, whatever, halfway up that piece of meat. You don't cover it, only halfway up. Put the lid on it, put it in the oven, it'll turn out absolutely beautiful. That's called braising. We'll be back coast to coast and around the world on the internet right after these messages.